Hello and welcome to Beatrice Weekly Podcast. So today I'm going to talk about feeding your pets, but most importantly to feed them healthy food. What is healthy food for pets? It's certainly not what you will find in a pet store or even what you find in a veterinarian store. I'm sorry to say that, but I learned that many years ago when I was young and still living in France with my dog's vet. He was an alternative vet. He was actually a naturopath and a vet. And he told me to never ever buy whatever I would find in a veterinarian store or what I would find in a in a pet place. Because he said in French it's M-E-R-D-E, merde, which means shit. So he knew better than that. The funny story about this vet is that when I moved back to France 4 years ago in the south of France, well, sure enough, he was there. And when I met him when I was like 15, he was in the Paris area. He was actually in Versailles. And my mom and I would take my dog to him to Versailles, which was a long way away. But I would do any miles to go see this particular vet. My first dog lived to be 17 years old. He never ever had in his life any kind of pet food. My mom had always made the food for him like she has always done for all of her pets all of her life. So what do we need to feed them? Ideally, they need to be on raw food. Dogs are not cooking. They don't have their little stove burner in the nature to make their preparation. So their ideal food is raw. And you want to give them raw meat or raw fish and raw veggies and raw fruits. You could also give them your own yogurt. If you're one of my GAPS follower, then you know how to make your own yogurt or your own kefir, and this will bring them probiotic, which are also necessary for their gut. But in any case, when you give them raw food, raw veggies and raw meat, there's plenty of bacteria in there that is going to appropriately feed the gut. What I do also for my dogs is I give them broths. As you know, broths for me is like medication. It heals everything, but specifically the digestive system. So I make broths, and as we use it for ourselves, I also give it to my dogs. Now, if you don't want to do all of that, you have several alternatives, and especially in the US. In France, it's much more difficult. But in the US, you can follow what is called the BARF diet. BARF, B-A-R-F, biologically appropriate raw food. And this is based on the work of a Dr. Billinghurst, a veterinarian, who for the first time, I would say since we care for pets, has explained to people that pets need to eat raw food, especially cats. Cats are even more carnivores than dogs. You can certainly find in the US and in California for sure some raw food for your dogs. Living in Carmel Valley, I have known a store forever, since actually the store exists or before, called Raw Food, the Raw Connection. I'm sorry, the Raw Connection in the Carmel, the mouth of the Carmel Valley Road. And if you go there, you'll find everything raw for your pet. I also used to buy the raw food for my dogs from XLK9 with the number 9 diet.com. It's a woman in California that will deliver to Carmel, Monterey area every other month. You need a big freezer for that, which I had. I had 2 big freezers. In that raw food, you also want to include the skin and the bones of the animals. If they're raw, there will be no problem for that. And if you can, even better, you would buy it organic. Now, in California, I didn't used to do that. Either the Raw Connection or the XLK9 diet are not selling it to you raw. I think it would be prohibitive as far as the cost, but if you can, that's even better indeed. So why do you want to do that, to give raw food to your pets? Because number one, their digestive system is made to digest raw food. Number two, if you buy pet food in health food store, supermarket, or vet, or whatever, this is just highly, highly processed junk. It's made from waste material. I don't mind so much that, but what I mind the most is that they add flours to it. They add flours so it can reduce the cost of the food. So they will put soy, they would put corn, they would put wheat in every single packages of dog food or cat food that you can buy, no matter what the brand is, no matter how expensive or inexpensive it is. They also contain, of course, because it's not organic, you'll find GMO, you'll find certainly glyphosate and all the other lovely pesticides that are out there. And you'll find BHT, which is hormones of croissance. I'm not finding the word in English, but it makes us gross. Growth hormones, sorry. This is growth hormones. Growth hormones is a good thing when you're a puppy or when you're a kitten, but when you are an adult dog or senior dog, you don't want to have that, not necessarily. We still need growth hormones because we need to renew our cells as bones and cartilage and muscles, but not in the amount that you will find it in industrialized pet food. So industrialized pet food will lead to obesity, will lead to diabetes, will lead to autoimmune disease, will lead to eczema and psoriasis and all the dermatitis that your dogs may suffer from. It also leads to hypothyroidism. I don't know if you have noticed, but nowadays the pets have the same disease as the people. In the old days, I remember when I was a kid and visiting my aunt's and uncle farm, the dog was just not very much considered, it was just staying out there all year long and it would be fed scraps. That's it. They would never buy dog food, they would never prepare food for their dogs, they would just feed them scraps. They were usually on the skinny side. But the thing is that these dogs lived forever. They were really living forever. We didn't even know how old they were. They were like 15, 20, maybe 22, 25. I have no idea. They were really old. And they served their purpose, for years they were helping to tend the cows. And then when they were too old to walk and run, then they would just stay there. Unfortunately, a lot of them were chained, but some of them were not. And that's it. But they lived forever and they had no specific food. The common denominator, the point I'm making, is that they had no commercial, industrialized type of pet food. That's it. Whatever the people were eating, the dog was eating. And of course, it was not raw, so it was not perfect, but they still lived forever. Another point is that they were not going to the vet unless they were like completely broken, broken bones or I don't know why they would take them to the vet, but they didn't have any trip to the vet. They didn't have vaccines. They didn't have heart deworming or you name it. So I guess they were living a healthier life in a sense that they were not poisoned by all the industrialized food that exists at the veterinarian. But of course, at least the dogs that I saw, they were not treated very well, which is a shame, and I always felt bad for these poor puppies. I used to spend my time just sitting with the dog chained to the tree or in his little dog house, just petting them and petting them. They didn't smell very good. They were kind of dirty, but that didn't matter. They were not sick. So that's my point for today. Don't feed package or can, it's the same, dog food or cat food. Just make it your own, or buy raw food at the Raw Connection in Carmel or at the XL Canine Diet in California. And if you're listening from other states, if you Google barf diet, raw food diet for your pets, then you'll see what I'm talking about. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I wish you a great summer, and I look forward to listening to your feedback. If you like this video and if it's useful for you, please visit my webpage, visit my Facebook page, visit YouTube channel. You don't have to visit them all, but I appreciate any feedback. It keeps me in business. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.